Hello everyone, I'm Josie, also known as the Ex-Plant Eater. I am an ex-vegan of 14 years turned carnivore to heal my ulcerative colitis, and since I've started eating this way, I've just seen a complete 180 in my health and in my skin. I know it's been a while. I think it's been a little bit over a month since I made my last YouTube video. I should have expected things would get really busy at this time of the year, as they always do for me. So I'm sorry for the delay in making a new video like this. I guess I've mentioned this before in some other videos, but I have a whole other TikTok and YouTube channel where I talk about, I would say, unserious conspiracy type topics, just stuff that like most people find interesting. I find it interesting, and as I've also mentioned, I'm a science fiction author, so I love researching things like that just because it gives me ideas for my writing. So anyway, yeah, I run a whole other TikTok and YouTube channel related to those things, and I had kind of put it on hiatus as well when I got a new job, which is my current job, a little bit over a year ago. And I've been trying to get back into it because I had a whole business that I was starting to develop from that. So again, all of that to say, I've been super busy and I've been trying to devote as much time to my carnivore Instagram as I can. And, you know, I did say I would do a live video because I hit 20K, which again, thank you guys so much for 20K. And it's just like finding the time for everything while working full time. So again, I hope you guys can bear with me. But anyway, yeah, I think I mentioned this on my Instagram, not on here, but I did go away last month. I went to New Hampshire and Vermont. So I'm gonna just show you guys some of the products that I brought. I brought carnivore crisps. They were a lifesaver when I was going out and like doing activities. I would bring them and put them in my backpack. Super convenient. And by the way, you can always get 10% off your first order with my code Ex-Plant-Eater. I brought my Noahic balm, if I'm pronouncing that right, and that was also super convenient. It is an organic beef tallow and olive oil blend, and I use that to moisturize my skin. And I actually did start working with another company called Summer Solace. They also make tallow bombs. They make lip balm in the little lip balm containers. They make fragrances, I believe, and soaps. So I just started trying their products. They're really nice so far. If you guys do want to try either of those brands, I will leave the links in the description. Carnivore crisps, my code is also always in the description if you guys want to try any of that. Anyway, yeah, so I went away to New Hampshire and Vermont. I was a little concerned about how things would go with my friends because we were all going to be staying in a cabin together. Things were, you know, going to be... There's no hiding the way that I eat, basically. I knew that would be the case, and I knew that I wasn't going to compromise my diet just to seem like I eat normally in front of my friends, because I knew that I would end up feeling like crap. And, you know, I think it is worth noting that I don't think for anyone with your diet you should feel like you're put in a box. You should want to eat the way that you do, that makes you feel your best. Like say if you eat carnivore or an animal-based diet, again, because it makes you feel your best. You should never feel like you're limited or develop like an OCD tendency when it comes to the way you eat. And I can honestly say now that I willingly abstain from the foods that are inflammatory for me because it's just not worth eating those things. So again, I knew going into the trip, and I know like I am very disciplined in some ways, other ways I'm not, but with food at this point where I've seen the negative side effects of like straying from the way that I eat that I know makes me feel my best, like which is an animal-based diet, I can be pretty disciplined with it. And okay, yeah, like maybe a piece of cake might sound good, but I'm at the point where I really don't even want to eat it anymore. So I stuck to the carnivore diet, or animal-based, whatever you want to call it. I stuck to it pretty easily. When we went out to eat, I got a lot of steak and eggs and burgers sometimes. I didn't really care at the end of the day what my friends thought, but luckily none of my friends like openly express being judgmental about it. They all know that I eat the way that I do because I have ulcerative colitis, and they're understanding about it in that way. If they do find it crazy, at the end of the day I don't really care, but they didn't voice that to me. And you know, when we were making meals back at the cabin, I just asked that they set aside some meat. If we were, you know, seasoning the meat, so I wouldn't get the seasoned meat. I would just like make it myself, or my friends luckily are good friends and they were so accommodating that like they set it aside and like cooked it at some points. I also did some cooking for everyone, so it was a very like, you know, collaborative trip. Like we were all very, you know, meeting each other halfway. So it went really easy, but again, I do understand some people don't have the luxury of people always being understanding about the way that they eat. I'm sure at some point I'll run into a situation too where somebody might express either concern or, you know, that they just don't want to be inconvenienced by having to, you know, set food aside, even though it's not a big deal, but set food aside for me, whatever. Like they, you know, some people might get that mentality of like, oh, you think you're special like that. I'm sure I will come across somebody like that eventually, but that wasn't the case with my trip, and I think it was meant to be that way because I honestly don't think I would ever go away with anyone besides maybe my fiance if it went any other way. Luckily, it went great. And New Hampshire too, unless you're going to a restaurant that is specifically vegan, you're gonna always have options. You can always ask at a restaurant to just get a burger patty with nothing else, and they will do it. I did it plenty of times when I was away. So yeah, my diet is completely the same. I actually did experiment with adding some pickles back in. I believe that they were fermented. They were local too, so they were locally grown. And I thought, you know, I'm just gonna see how this goes. And I really love the taste of pickles, but I don't know if it was maybe some of the spices that were in them, but they ended up not agreeing with me. I felt really bloated. I would feel a little lethargic when I was eating them, like consistently. The same thing happened with me when I tried to add back in avocado. And spices too. Spices, as I've showed you guys in my videos, I generally only eat, the only seasoning that I have is Redmond's real salt. If I stray from that, I start to tend to get issues again. So all of that to say, if you eat those things, like if you add in some avocado, if you add in pickles, I'm not going to tell you that you should stop, but personally, I found a diet of mainly ruminant meats with a lot of fat added in, animal fat specifically, butter, ghee, beef tallow. I either put it in my coffee, I cook with it, I add tablespoons of it to my meals. A diet mainly consisting of that and eggs, fish, and some shellfish, small amounts of chicken, turkey, and pork. I feel my best eating that way. I still do have lemon juice sometimes in my water, but it did start to make my throat hurt if I was having it every day, so I kind of pulled back from that. I do have organs sometimes. I have liver. I have organs, freeze-dried organ supplements. Optimal Carnivore is the one I've been having, and I did also try Paleo Valley. I kind of vary the two. I take them both like on different days. I don't take that every day either. I take it like every couple of days, I would say. But yeah, my diet's the same. I'm still having coffee multiple times a day. I don't really have a desire much to stop. That's like my one vice still, and I just don't see a reason to stop having it. As I've told you guys, my ulcerative colitis is in full remission right now. I think pretty permanently. I did also, I will mention, when I was away, have 2 drinks because I just felt like it. When I am, you know, with my friends and I really want to drink and I feel like it's worth it, I will have one. But in the end, literally one time I had some kind of cider that was like a local brew or whatever from a brewery that we went to when we were away. And then the other time I had a White Claw, and the cider honestly didn't really affect me. The next day I was fine. I maybe felt a little bloated, but the cider was fine, really. I would never have it on a daily basis, but again, it didn't like negatively impact me. On the other hand, the White Claw, I literally got a headache while I was drinking it. And I think I did maybe get a little bit of a headache too with the cider, but again, it wasn't crazy. The White Claw, on the other hand, was very apparent, and it's like I get to the point where I'm no longer even tempted to have these things because of the way my body reacts and the feedback I get from my body. I really am eating the same exact way. I had a few drinks while I was away. The worst thing that happened really was just getting a headache, and again, I'm not wanting to do it again. So yeah. So yeah, in the next portion of this video, I will show you guys how I'm going to be meal prepping for the week. I made these spooky egg bites with carnivore crisps and eggs, and I believe that was the only other ingredient. And they were super convenient, and I'm going to be making like a big batch of them so that I have it for the rest of the week while I go to work. So I'll see you in the next portion of this video. So we're on to the egg bites portion of the video. I am going to be using these little molds, which it is after Halloween, but I just did not get around to finishing this video before that. So I'm going to be using these. These are also the only molds that I have at the moment. I'm going to be filling all 3 of these with eggs so I can put them in my fridge and save them for the rest of the week to bring to work and possibly out if I, need something in a pinch. These molds are BPA free. I got them from Amazon. I will definitely link them down below. I used them once already before. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw the reel I made of these little bites earlier in October, and they came out really good and the molds work just fine. So I'm going to be using, I would say, about 12 eggs for these and carnivore crisps. I crumbled these up pretty well, so I'm just going to be using the rest of these in the batter. I don't really know if you could even accurately call it batter because it's going to be just eggs and carnivore crisps, and I'm probably going to add some cheese cubes into one of the molds. My fiance does not eat cheese, so I'm just going to be doing that for one. So this is going to be super simple. I also wanted to talk in this video about updates that I have in regards to my diet and my life. I know I kind of gave a brief overview of updates when I did the intro, but it's been about a month and a half since my last video, so I suppose things have changed a little bit. It probably, to outsiders, sounds like I'm very scatterbrained, which to a degree I definitely am, but I have been working a lot on a clothing line that I started over a year ago this past month, and on my second novel, I've mentioned this to you guys before, that I have one science fiction novel out right now, and I'm working on finishing the sequel at the moment. So I've been working on both of those things a lot the past month and a half. Essentially, in 2021, I started a TikTok and I made a video about Camp Hero. If you're not familiar, it's an abandoned military base at the end of Long Island in Montauk, and there's this whole conspiracy surrounding it that experiments took place there having to do with time travel. It was what Stranger Things was based off of. So anyway, me and my friend went to Camp Hero in 2021 in the summer, and I just made this unserious TikTok about it afterwards, and the TikTok blew up. And after that, I kept making videos. I was building momentum with the account, and I started developing this clothing line alongside with it, which would feature like quirky conspiracy related designs. I feel like there are really negative associations with the word conspiracy, but when I say that, I mean just like unserious conspiracies, like Area 51 and Camp Hero and the Montauk, that's what it's called, the Montauk Project, things like that. I make videos about things like that and paranormal subjects. I've always found that stuff to be super interesting. So anyway, I was doing that, followers, and then I got my current job, and things got really busy around this time last year, and it really got put on the back burner. And on the other hand, I had stopped being vegan pretty recently before that. I was starting to think about wanting to tell my story. So this account kind of took over that for, my free time. And I haven't really known where I've been going with it. As you guys know, I make content when I can. This is not my job, and I know a lot of people assume that because I have 22,000 followers on Instagram, but just because you have a lot of followers on Instagram, it does not mean that something is your job. I can't even tell you guys how many people will come to my account. I mean, to be fair, it's not that many people, honestly, but I've had quite a few that approach my account. They think I'm just grifting and trying to make like sensationalized content about being an ex-vegan and carnivore to just get followers, which, sorry, I couldn't pretend if I wanted to. This is just the God honest truth about how I healed my autoimmune disorder. So obviously I'm not just going to stop doing this diet, and I will get into little changes that I've made. But you know, this is like a long story, I guess. Anyway, this account took over that for a while, and the clothing line, and so my other account is called Weird History Gal. The TikTok and I have a YouTube channel as well. All of that got put on the back burner, and I've really been wanting to revamp that and finally release the clothing line. So I've been working really hard on that this past month. I've been working on the sequel to my second novel because that's just an ongoing, tedious process. If anybody that watches my videos writes at all, you probably know that editing is way harder than just getting the writing down. So I'm going through that process right now, and it's tedious, it's hard. It requires a lot more critical thinking than just sitting down to write whatever. So it's been a lot. So as far as this account goes, I don't really know where I'm going with it. I love making videos about the way that I eat. I love spreading awareness about the fact that veganism really did me dirty, and if you're going through the same thing, you probably would have success eating an animal-based diet. But again, I'm not really interested in coaching. I'm more so interested in just sharing my story and like especially doing like podcasts with people. And that's what I've been doing. But you know, there's only so much content that you can make in that regard, in my opinion, until it gets redundant. So that's why I make update videos when I can. You know, make fun little like recipe videos, which a lot of the times they're not like complicated, obviously. But yeah, all that to say, I've kind of been getting back to what I was doing before this, and I'm obviously gonna keep eating this way. I'm obviously gonna keep sharing content and sharing my story and getting on podcasts and doing live videos with people, but I don't really see myself doing things outside of that. But who knows? I have, just so you guys know, my oven preheated to 350, and I'm gonna be baking these for about 25 minutes. Oh yeah, so anyway, this shirt too is my first design for the clothing line. I have one other design that's done right now that's super relevant to the videos I make. If you're not interested in it, I completely understand. That is not why you're here. But I get this weird mix of comments where people are just interested in carnivore, but then on the other hand, I've had people be like, share more about who you are, share more about your hobbies, like we want to know those things. So I'm not going to overshare, but if you are interested, you can follow those accounts. I will have them linked below. So I used to add Redmond's real salt to everything, even my water. I actually did stop doing that, I would say about a month ago, because I would put lemon juice, raw lemon juice, and Redmond's in my water every day and in my coffee and on all my food. And I have not had any problems with electrolytes. I'll give you that. But I was starting to develop, I don't even want to say like a sore throat. My throat just felt off. So I stopped having so much salt. I really only add salt to usually beef if I have it. Otherwise, I really don't add it to anything. I eat salt in the cheese that I eat, and I eat salt when I have things like carnivore crisps. So I'm just not adding it to water anymore. I don't add it to my coffee. I don't add it to eggs really anymore. And I've been doing just fine. I have not had any problems with electrolytes either. I don't take an electrolyte supplement. So I don't know, for me, salt ended up being something I got a little bit sensitive to. I might have been just overdoing it to begin with, but I was also given the advice by someone to not add salt to something that doesn't have fat in it. And that did make sense to me. The way that I can't remember exactly what the person said, but the way they explained it, it did make a lot of sense about why you shouldn't have salt without fat. It has to do with absorption. And ever since I stopped adding salt to things that don't have fat in them in the least, I have been feeling better. I haven't been getting like a sore throat at the end of the day really, or like a hoarse throat. So it's working, it seems. Okay, so I'm just mixing the carnivore crisps into the batter right now. So now I'm gonna fill the molds. You wanna fill them I would say to about 3/4 of the way so that they don't overflow when they're baking in the oven. Just use a decently sized spoon to fill these. I wouldn't use a ladle because the molds are a little too small. I mean, I guess you could fill a ladle like halfway and that would work. Whatever you want to use, you just need a spoon. I actually, while I was going through an old hard drive to find the files for designs, I found this YouTube video that I made. It was like one of the first YouTube videos I ever filmed, or you know, I never ended up posting it, but I filmed it when I was vegan, and I was talking about how I was dealing with ulcerative colitis as a vegan and what I was doing to help with my colitis. And I watched it, and it was like watching a horror movie almost. I will insert a clip from it. It's honestly pretty sad. I wanted to make this video kind of as like an introduction. I am vegan. I've been vegan for 9 years, and I wanted to talk about my like journey through health kind of, and what led me to being vegan, and how I tried out 80-10-10, and I'm probably going to end off with how I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis as a vegan, which has been kind of frustrating. Just to see how low energy I am, and how everything was so different, like down to the way that I talked. I was saying all the time, you can clearly tell I have like no self-esteem, and to be fair, I was just coming out of being really sick at that time, so it does make sense. I was definitely not feeling too good, but it's just sad to see, and it's sad to know that at that time I thought I was managing my colitis well, and I was only bound to keep getting sick. And luckily, it was right after I was my sickest, like the time that I almost died, and I would never get that sick again, but I would never be well. And just because you're not deathly ill on a daily basis, it doesn't mean that you're living your life to the fullest if you're being inhibited by small health issues every day. Like, I remember after my worst flare, I never had normal digestion. I was always, eating something, I would be in pain after, I would always be constipated. I did not have a normal stool after that, ever. Like, it was unheard of. I was either constipated or I had urgent diarrhea the way that I had, when I was in a colitis flare. So obviously, like, you could probably assume I've been trying to make some kind of a platform for a while. I've always watched more YouTube than I watch TV. So I always wanted to make my own YouTube channel, and initially I did start a YouTube channel surrounding like veganism, and I would make videos about fashion and like try on hauls, and ultimately I felt like it was just kind of empty, and I didn't really see myself doing much with it. And then I made that TikTok, and completely out of the blue, unexpectedly, that one video went viral, and I found that I was much more passionate about making videos about places that I like to visit, the history of them, weird fun facts about them, like the Montauk Project and Camp Hero, things like that. And like, I live on Long Island, so we have a lot of haunted, quote unquote haunted places here. Whether or not you believe that something can actually be haunted, it's just interesting to learn about, in my opinion. I've always been intrigued by things like that. Then that account ended up working out really well, and like I was saying earlier in the video, I just got really busy and it got put on the back burner. And then I made my Carnivore account, and it really got put on the back burner because obviously I've been wanting to share my story with you guys and show you how I eat. So yeah, that's my long story, the long version of my story. Anyway, I did want to talk about updates that I've had in regards to my diet, what I've changed. And I would say the biggest thing has been having less salt and only having salt with fat. And I also stopped drinking milk. And I know I've covered this on my channel before, but I was just having heavy cream. Sorry, I'm just doing two things at once. I was just having heavy cream for a while, but then when I went on vacation, there was no heavy cream around. So I started having half and half again. And I figured that that was fine. I didn't notice any weird or bad side effects initially, so I figured it was fine. I'll just have half and half again, or organic half and half instead of heavy cream. When I got home from my vacation, I kept doing that, and as I've covered on my Instagram and on here, I have an unhealthy obsession with coffee. I'm exaggerating, but I love coffee and I love lattes. So I was making lattes with foamed half and half a lot. When I got home from my vacation, I was like, yeah, I'm so happy that I can have half and half again. Which again, I could have been having it the whole time, but I did start to notice sinus problems with my sinuses and, you know, some other things like lethargy. So I had stopped having it a few months ago. I talked about it on here, and I was just having heavy cream. But I completely forgot about that when I decided to just start eating it again. And by the way, I'm cracking, I would say, about 5 more eggs to fill this little mold, and I'm gonna put a little bit of cheese in this one. I needed more eggs than I thought, so it's gonna end up being about 17 eggs. So I got home from New Hampshire, I was having half and half again, and then I started feeling kind of inflamed again. I didn't notice any digestive problems, but I was noticing that I was a little bit more bloated. I obviously wasn't as bloated as I ever was when I was vegan, but I was noticing also my face seemed a little bit puffier, my skin was a little bit less clear, and I was waking up with clogged sinuses. And I was like, you know, what gives? I eat a really clean diet, like why am I getting sinus pressure again? And then I realized I've been having half and half, which I think I am just sensitive to lactose and to non-raw milk. I might even be sensitive to raw milk that just has lactose in it. So I took the half and half out of my diet, and I just decided I'm not even gonna bother having heavy cream anymore. The only thing that I even have heavy cream in is coffee, and I need to start drinking less coffee anyway. So I haven't even been having heavy cream anymore, and that is, if I really wanted to, I would have it again, but as soon as I took the milk out, or the half and half, I no longer had sinus pressure in the morning. All the bloating went away. I was getting a little concerned, like, did I gain a little bit of weight? And luckily, my mental health is on a completely different level than it used to be, and I can see myself a lot more clearly now, so it didn't really bother me to the extent that it would have if I was still vegan, probably. But I was like, you know, did I gain a little bit of weight? I don't count calories or measure anything anymore, so I was like a little concerned. But then as soon as I cut the milk out, all the puffiness, to be fair, it was not a lot, but the puffiness went away. Like, I literally put on a pair of pants that usually fits me like kind of loose, and then they stopped fitting me loose like around when I went on vacation, and then I put them back on like 2 days ago, and they fit exactly the same way that they used to. So it was just me getting a little bit OCD about you know, things like that. So that's why I cut out milk. I could still have heavy cream, but I just don't feel like buying it. So I've just been having butter instead, and I have hard cheeses. I think that I have pinned down that lactose does cause inflammation for me, and it's totally not surprising. It causes inflammation for a lot of people. So I stick to hard cheeses because that doesn't have a lot of lactose. I stick to butter. Both of those things don't give me any issues. The last update I have about my diet, and let me put these in the oven now. Oh, and I have to add cheese to these. I'm just gonna be adding Kerrygold Reserve Cheddar, aged 2 years. This is my favorite one. So another small change is that I am no longer only eating raw cheese. It's just hard cheeses that I stick to because of the lactose. I don't really think raw, I'm sure raw is better, but I think it's more so me not having lactose that makes a difference. because again, it seems to cause inflammation for me. And I'm just breaking this up with my hands. I'm not even gonna bother cubing it. Okay, so it wouldn't be one of my videos if the camera didn't die in the middle. So I added the cheese to one of the molds. This one, I'll have to remember that because I don't want my fiance to accidentally eat cheese. And I'm gonna be putting these in the oven for about 25 minutes, maybe about 20, because these are filled a little bit less than the ones I made last time. So I'm gonna put these in the oven. Let me hold it up so you guys can see. Make sure you put the molds on the pan before you fill them, because egg ended up spilling into the other cups. So it makes it so much easier if you put it on the pan first, and then the egg won't spill anywhere. Anyway, so I was talking to you guys about how I'm back to eating pretty strict carnivore, and I was just saying that I am so about people doing what works best for them as a vegan. Also, I never pushed veganism on anyone. And pro tip to vegans, a lot of people in my life actually became more open to veganism because of my attitude about it, because I wasn't trying to shove it down anyone's throat. I never acted like judgmental towards people when they were eating meat. I really never cared. It was just something that I viewed as my own personal choice, and that was that. And that's the way I feel about my diet now too. I am completely for the people that say that carnivore, it doesn't work for them and that it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting every nutrient. I'm not going to dispute that because I'm not a doctor, but I can say that I feel my best eating this way. And, you know, with my own little tweaks, like I stopped having lactose for the most part. I haven't been having any. I have, you know, my own way of eating carnivore. I do include coffee, so technically that does make my diet more like animal-based, but it's essentially carnivore. I think everybody that I know of that eats carnivore includes coffee, besides maybe Anthony Chafee, but otherwise I think almost everybody else does. So anyway, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to eat. This is just the way that works best for me. I know, like Michaela Peterson, for example, eats this way, and she's more strict than I even am. She just eats ruminant meats, I think mainly just lamb, but it's because it's the one way of eating that keeps her autoimmune disorder in remission, and it's the same exact way for me. I don't know if down the road maybe my gut will be healed enough, and because stress plays a role for sure in my autoimmune, maybe I will be relaxed enough to be able to eat certain things and it doesn't affect my gut badly. But right now, all I know is that eating a carnivore diet basically with coffee, and that's it, keeps my colitis in remission. It gives me consistent energy throughout the day. It has made my skin reverse age. Around this time last year, I'd stopped being vegan, so my skin had, bounced back a little bit up, and my cat is about to say hello. Skin had bounced back a little bit, but looked a lot older before I stopped being vegan. So it has the anti-aging properties as well, and it just keeps me feeling my best. When, especially when I was eating a diet a lot heavier in carbs, I would have dips in my energy all day. And, I know everybody has an answer for everything. People, I'm sure, will have a way of explaining that. But all I can really say is that this way of eating keeps my autoimmune disorder in remission. It keeps me from having to worry about my weight and be OCD about what I eat, because I literally never measure anything anymore, and I used to. And it leaves me feeling my best. It leaves me with consistent energy all day, and my mental health as well, and well-being and happiness on a daily basis is so much better than when I was vegan, and it's so much better just since I have cut out processed foods and most carbs. So yeah, that's the conclusion of my video. I actually didn't start timing the egg bites, so I'm gonna say it's been about 5 minutes, so I'll give it another 20 minutes and then I'll show you guys the finished product. So I figured I would close out this video with some announcements and what's going on in the next couple of weeks for me in regards to this account. So I'm going to be talking to Courtney Luna. Her @ is It's Courtney Luna on Instagram, and Devin from the Contoured Carnivore. Together on November 6th at 3 p.m. I believe we're going to be going live on one of their pages. I'll be posting announcements for it on my Instagram, and then I'm going to be talking to Carnivore Camaraderie soon as well, but I'm not sure when our talk or our video is going to come out. And I'm going to be doing a live with the Carnivorist on December 4th, and that's a confirmed thing right now as well. That's going to be at noon EST on his Instagram live. So that is what's coming up for me. Okay guys, I'm going to show you the egg bites. They came out really good. I filled them up to, I would say, exactly the right height, and they're gonna deflate a little bit more. I'll just show you. So here they are. These are gonna be super convenient to take with me on the go and bring for lunch for work for the next couple of days. I'm gonna just pop them in the fridge once they finish cooling off. I did wanna just show you guys my dinner quickly, and then I am gonna hop off this video. We're gonna be having these Denver steaks from Triangle S Livestock. It is a family-owned farm in Idaho that produces dry-aged Angus beef and beefalo, which I haven't tried it yet from them. And I believe they ship everywhere in the US if you do wanna check them out. So I'm gonna be having that, and then this Nature's Reserve grass-fed, I think this is ribeye, or I don't know, it's some kind of steak. It says beef rib. All right guys, I will catch you in my next YouTube video. Again, if you do want to check out anything that I mentioned in this video, I will have all the links down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Again, thank you guys so much for watching and for almost 3K subscribers. All right, bye.